He was like, I was really hitting on you with boy titties.
Without being able to explain it. You want to say that?
No. The truth about it?
What? Fuck my dad.
My friends don't know that I'm into cross-dressers. Americans should all take estrogen. Everyone.
Cunt.
We should.
I am not a politician. I do sex for money.
Welcome back to T-Rated for conversation, even more conversations on life, growth, and TS. I have two of my guests that I've already done individual podcasts with, but we are all back as a group.
I'm Nicole Korsakova. I am a multiple award-nominated star.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Stacy Cay. I'm a comedian.
I feel like, just start out by telling me some tea.
Some tea?
Some tea. Tell me your most controversial hot take.
My most controversial hot take. Well, one of the things I believe most strongly, I don't know if it's necessarily that hot, but I think that Finding Nemo should have ended right after Marlin tells Nemo how old sea turtles are. Like, that was the end of the movie, you know, where it fades to black, and then they go to the barrier reef, and then they do this whole thing where Nemo goes to school and all that kind of shit. Horrible. Ruined the whole movie. Like, it destroyed the movie, and they did that because they could set up for a sequel. But I think that the movie should have ended right there because it fulfills the arc of Marlin, like, going out and he getting his son and talking about sea turtles overcoming his fear and stuff like that, and it was the end of the movie.
Does he have a fear of sea turtles?
No. He has a fear of the unknown. But in order to save his son, he went out and braved the unknown, learned all this random stuff about sea turtles, and then was able to answer his son's question that he asked earlier in the thing of how old sea turtles could be. Okay. So the movie should have faded black and ended. And I hate it whenever movies end like that, where they don't let themselves end where it ends. They have to have another part where you see that the characters were actually okay in the end.
I love the passion behind it.
See,
leave some indecisiveness. Oh no, what happened? Did their relationship fall apart after that? We don't know. Did they get divorced? We're not sure. Leave the ambiguity. Don't explain it to your viewers like that. So that's what I think. I know. I don't.
I think any opportunity for Ellen DeGeneres to cash a check is also a net negative. So
yeah, that's true. Finding Dory 2 was an atrocity.
What are your thoughts on Finding Nemo?
I have no thoughts on Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
No, not that deep.
I thought I was going to get some pushback there.
The only thing I can say
I'm sure the comments
about Finding Nemo, the thing that kind of I'm sure y'all seen it on the internet, they kind of fucked me up because I didn't think about it as an adult. Was about how he was just looking for his dead son the entire time, and it was his son actually died. Have y'all not seen that?
No.
Oh, that's some bullshit.
The meme talking about his son actually was actually dead, and it was more of a story of
coping.
Yeah, him trying to cope through the loss and going through different stages of a grief cycle.
Oh yeah, because I guess
as
his
opposed
whole
to him,
family.
Yeah, as opposed to him actually.
I hate theories like that. It's he was dead the whole time. You can do that with basically
okay, but it does make sense. The way
they all make sense when you frame it that way.
The first scene of the movie isn't the whole litter of fish eggs gets eaten by something.
But I mean, with Nemo trans.
So but that's why Nemo was so. That's why he was the way he was. That's why he was in the anemone and didn't want to leave. Was because he lost his whole family. So all he wanted to do was protect the last one he had.
And that's why he's transsexual. Yeah.
They are. Finding Nemo is about a transsexual clownfish. So.
And
no, technically they're all trans. Well, I mean, technically. All of clownfishes are
we are all clownfishes, honestly.
No, all they're hermaphrodites.
Yeah, they switch based on. So the way it would work is since
representation matters
in a clan or whatever of clownfish, the older clownfish will transition to female. If there's no females left and there's just two males, the older one will transition to female and then they'll fucking have kids.
Yeah.
That's what would actually happen in things. So Marlon was, a transsexual woman, which is pretty cool.
I heard that's
what his son.
I heard that's what you do too, Nicole. The truth about it.
What? Fuck my dad. No. What?
No, you transition to become breedable.
Oh, God, I've always been very fertile. I'm just living my truth now.
Love that for you. So, Nicole, what's your most controversial take?
My most controversial take? On, like, what?
Whatever.
I can make up a yarn about anything, really.
No, I wanted to be one you actually, like, genuinely
What's something
in.
I'm impassioned about?
Yeah. Because, I mean, she gave a dissertation on Nemo.
On Finding Nemo. I feel like now mine has to be about, like, something media related, too.
It can be media. It can be, transsexual related.
We don't all have to do movies. That would be weird.
Yeah.
Do we want to be movie YouTubers? Do we want that life for ourselves? No, right?
Come back to me. What's your most controversial take?
I don't have one.
Oh, yeah, you're just very...
Queen of PC.
Yeah. You're just all accepting. You're just very...
I love everyone.
Like
oh, okay.
My most controversial ones will never be on the internet.
Do y'all want me to bring up a controversial topic that you guys can, I guess, talk about?
Yeah.
Today on Twitter, somebody said... I can't remember what it was, but basically the difference between... let me look it up. We're going to look this up.
Yeah. We're going to take a brief ad break. Make sure you visit ndj.com. ndj.com, a proud sponsor of today's podcast.
There is a difference between trans lesbians and transbians, the way there's a difference between queers and tenderqueers. No, I won't elaborate. That's the tweet. It has since been deleted, but it got a lot of people talking. So I guess you guys can talk about that.
Would you consider yourself a trans lesbian or a trans man?
I've never thought about it. It's one of those things that I don't care about. But I don't like the term transbian, so...
Why, really?
Well, for starters, I'm bi, so it's not exactly lesbian, I guess. Mm-hmm. But the term transbian, how it just smashes the words together, not a fan of the way... Like, if other people want to call themselves transbian, that's fine. Uh-huh. But, like... I just don't like the way that the words sound together when you just smush it like that.
It is like an aesthetic sin. Yeah. Rather than anything like I could actually argue against. I feel like I've just never met someone who like proudly used the words transbian for themselves. That wasn't like kind of horrible.
Yeah.
No offense to any transbians in the audience. I also love women. I just am not a transbian. Sorry.
Why are you looking at me? I have no... HSTS. That's the only way to be. That's the only way you'll get into heaven.
Oh my God. The straight girls are the only ones who get into heaven.
The straight TS are the only ones. Top. And I only... to hell.
You have to join a nunnery.
Yeah. You have to be like a straight transsexual in order to get into heaven.
And pray away all of your like dirty sexual thoughts.
The bad stuff that you did.
Yeah. By being a man.
And then you'll be fine. What I actually want to talk about, though, today, now that we've heard these interesting, very interesting hot topics, what, we can all go through and do this, what do you feel like is the one thing, which I don't think is actually one thing, but what do you think is one of the key things that is holding the trans community back inside of our community and outside of our community? And why? Anybody can go first. We don't have to. Stacy went first last time. Come on, Nicole.
I went first. Okay, but like I'm not the one who has like a political background. If we're like,
it doesn't need to be like a political topic.
I'm just like, I don't think anyone else should be trans. I think I should be the only person who's trans, and everyone else can just suck it up.
Okay, I'll take a swing at this one. Yeah. I think I got this. All right. I think that HSTS and AGPs should work together more. All right. Yes, there needs to be a peace deal. We need each other. Okay.
So what if
someone's got to run the Discord channel? Someone's got to tell people how to do their hair. Okay. We need both elements of that if we want rights.
Can you tell them what HSTS and AGP mean?
So what is it, Ray Blanchard or whatever, transsexual psychology from a long time ago. He categorized trans women into 2 categories. Homosexual transsexual, which means that a gay man who becomes so gay he becomes a woman just so he can have more sex with men.
Mood.
Andy. And then there's AGP, which is autogonophile, which is that being a woman turns you on, and that's women who are with other women. So basically the defining factor of whether or not you're AGP or HSTS is whether or not you are attracted to men or women, which is a little silly. But it's not a serious term.
So you're both?
I am. I am accepted in both AGP and HSTS circles.
Okay.
So that's why I really think that I can negotiate this peace deal here. We talk about how we're presented as like a people, right? Like we're running PR, okay? We have to convince, not the transphobes, the awful transphobes, they're screwed. Like we're not going to kill us them. No matter what. What we need to do is convince normal people that we're okay. And the way you do that is it's just a lot of work. It's a lot of PR we got to do. It's a lot of good representation and all that kind of stuff. And allies, we need a lot of allies, and we have to convince people to be allies. And you need both hairstylists and nerds to accomplish this, okay? The nerds know how Twitter algorithm works, and the hairstylists know how to make the people look good while they're doing it, because appearances and stuff like that matter. So if we could somehow get to where all of the Reddit moderators in the world and all of the girls at the strip club can work together, we'll have a better future.
We need more Reddit strip
trans people. Reddit strip clubs.
Reddit strip clubs.
I wouldn't go that far. That's a little radical for me.
$1 million idea right there. I want to retroactively submit a controversial opinion. I think that sex is not a defining factor in whether or not someone is autogynephilic. Like, if your sexuality is more like you're more attracted towards men, you can definitely still fetishize womanhood in a very honestly, perverse and disgusting way. And I see it with girls who would be categorized as HSTS as much as I see it with girls who would be AGP just
I think
dating
it's
women. And I know
that we're all AGP, you know?
Sure, that's your worldview from your perspective. I'm just saying it's you can be into women and not fetishize womanhood.
Right.
I think he's going off of I think I was talking about it on our podcast, kind of the male gaze, projecting this image of what male sexuality towards the female body is onto women as well. And I think if you just simply don't understand the perspective of female attraction towards another woman, you may mistake it for something that could be narcissistic, or you might think that it could be a projection of your own attraction to yourself or to another. But I think for most lesbian women, most sapphic women or whatever, they can recognize I guess things attractive about women that aren't just aesthetic, and it isn't a sexual thing. It is more sensual, and it has a lot more to do with the connection you have. And I think that you don't have to be into girls to be into girls, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You don't have to be a lesbian to be a lesbian.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say, I think. Or that's what you're trying to say. And I agree. Seconded, motion pass, right?
I think that, I don't have to call myself a lesbian to be into women. I just, definitely understand that my attraction to women has nothing to do with, me trying to be happier with my body.
Right.
How about you?
I've been seeing do you think that you can be a bi lesbian?
If you're cis or trans? I think you can,
either one.
I think you can identify as whatever.
The term bi lesbian apparent. So, did y'all know about the girl who hacked she hacked the TSA no fly list? Oh yeah, I heard they. This girl in Switzerland. I think she's 23. She's already wanted in the U.S. for several cyber crimes, leaking intellectual property.
What's her name,
and things
Anita?
like that. What's her name? It's
hack people
I think it's Maia.
Upload your content.
I think it's MAIA, something like that. She has like a cat profile picture on
Maia,
Twitter.
if you see me.
But she tweeted, so this girl hacked the TSA no-fly list, and what that is the list of all the people who are banned from flying in the United States, which is a pretty, like, that's sensitive information, because it's got your address, it's got your birthday, it's got all these people's names, and all this kind of stuff.
How long was it?
How long is the list?
Yeah.
About 1.5 million. It's about 1.5 million names on this thing of people who can't fly. And it's a big security risk that she was able to get it. Like, that's a huge concern from our government standpoint. Like, how is anybody hacking this shit? But anyway, it's I think what she did was illegal, but she's Swiss, so it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, they get to do whatever.
They're definitely not going to extradite or anything like that. But I don't know. But then she identified as a bi-lesbian. She said that she was a bi-lesbian, and then a ton of people on Twitter got on there and just started roasting the shit out of her for it.
Yeah. It's good she didn't identify as a he/him lesbian. That would be even bigger controversy.
But like they were just going nuts, and like I can't think of anything I care less about than whether or not someone identifies as a bi-lesbian.
It's someone who like claims the lesbian label but is bisexual.
Yeah, but also So I don't really know what it means.
Is that like lesbianism? But
I think it's like
have a tenant.
I don't ask men who call themselves lesbians.
This is a thing like, everyone comes up with.
If you're into women and in the queer community, everyone kind of just calls themselves a lesbian, like out of convenience. But it's like, I don't know, if you're going by the most strict definition of what a lesbian is, I think it wouldn't typically include bisexuals or men, but it does, I guess, if you're in the queer community.
Teach my HSTS stuff something. So what was it, Stacy, that we're doing besides the Reddit people?
What are we doing to the Reddit people?
To the Reddit people?
She's cutting hair, you're moderating Reddit. I don't know what I'm doing.
No, I'm not moderating.
That was, cause my question was, what are we doing inside of the community and outside?
Right.
So HSTS.
What's keeping us from getting together? And I think that
inside the community,
the HSTS and AGP, there's a little bit of a war and a rivalry going on. All right, like the HSTSs make fun of the AGP's hair, and then the AGP makes fun of the fact that the HSTS is, conforming just to, okay, sure, that works too.
It's like, oh, you could never code like I code.
Right. Okay. So I just think that we need like a unification and use everybody's talents in this thing. And I'm trying to think like how we could get this together, because I feel like each side would have to make a concession, right?
Yeah.
Like one side is going to have
We're
to give
not willing to concede anything.
In the negotiation.
You guys have to publicly...
We're not willing to concede anything.
Not a single thing. Come on.
On behalf of the HSTS,
listen.
What do you want?
What are your demands?
What do you want, transbian?
I'll need to talk to the AGP union.
Yeah.
Okay.
To get actual demands. I'm just saying that we need to come to the table and have a dialogue.
Well, you're here and we're talking.
So I think one helpful step would be to have a Reddit. Let's start with a Reddit. Let's start with a subreddit with a bunch of moderators who allow HSTS content.
HSTS is not on Reddit. We're on Grindr.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. That's the problem. Grindr is a man's area and stuff like that. What?
So
transphobia.
It is, but the thing about Reddit
You're literally in tech.
I am. I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I needed to pay the bills somehow.
We all understand that.
But the way it's hard to post on Reddit. It's hard to post on Reddit because the moderators in general hate women. Mm-hmm. So they kind of just they want to stop like influencers or any of that kind of content coming through the subreddit. They'll just delete it. Mm-hmm. So I think that the moderators need to have an HSTS friendly subreddit so that we can all come together and
this would be
acquire
like
chasers. Acquire chasers together. I mean, r/trans is already taken, and I'm banned from that one.
What would be like appealing towards the HSTS sensibility?
Like, why would HSTS want to do it?
Yeah, like r/.
How are you going to get us? You have to come up with a handle that's going to hook the HSTS.
Well, see, I know a lot of the good ones are taken. So there's
r/glory hole.
It would be nice to have one that isn't a slur. All right. Like, I don't want to have to post on our traps if I'm going to post myself in a bikini. All right?
I do.
No, you don't. Do you? Do you?
I love being called a trap. ATL City a trap.
Okay. All right. See,
I've got a T-shirt that says that.
Trap house, actually.
Yeah. We're different here in the dirty South.
Like, the thing is, I think I'm fine. Like,
I'm just kidding. Don't call me a fucking trap.
Like, I think it's a little bit funny sometimes. I don't
think it's hilarious.
I don't think that the word itself, like, it's just that I don't want to have to post on a subreddit called traps because other people don't understand that. Like, non-trans people, they don't understand like the power of that slur, you know. And I don't want to be associated with that without being able to explain it. You want to say that?
No, trap is a slur.
It's offensive for sure.
I think it's born out of the idea that like trans women are pretending to be something else.
Right. That they're like trying to like ensnare him.
Yeah. Or like,
I think it's like the F slur.
The succubus.
You know? What's the F slur?
Faggot.
No, I don't think it's the same as like a faggot.
I don't know. Because I don't think it feels the same to me.
I don't feel
I'm
like
getting called both of those things. It depends on the context. But if it's derogatorily used, it has just as much, almost more of an impact on me if I'm called a trap and whatever, because you know the context of it is
because
I understand
basically raped a guy and now he gets to kill you. Like that's what they.
And you're down here visiting Atlanta, so you know when you're on your way back up, like through Georgia, like if you ever stop at a gas station, I'll feel really bad for you if someone yells "trap" at you from the gas pump.
Ouch! That would.
They're definitely not. Yeah, I was about to say because they're definitely. The social, like what you're trying to pinpoint to, like the social aspect of like, men don't really call you a trap. They're just going to call you a dude.
If they're trying to sexualize you, they call you a trap and it's offensive. But it's not like, it is not a slur like faggot's a slur.
It offends people though. Like that,
we're going to find
that
out.
I posted in our traps. They're like, wow, how could you do that? Yeah.
Like you're like an affront to the transbian race.
Yeah, because they don't, I don't know, like if you don't use that term a lot, and some trans people get to grow up in kind of sensitive environments, so they don't have, they're not desensitized to all these words that people use to describe us. Like, you know, the term ladyboy, right?
Katoy.
Say what?
Katoy. The Thai word.
Oh, okay. But you know, in Thailand, like ladyboy is like a thing they call us. Like, it's almost not even like this. It's just what they do. Like, I used to watch Miss Tiffany's Ladyboy pageant. Have you seen that? I
was about to say. Well, I think like culturally, that's not something that they have like a huge.
Yeah, they're not.
And y'all can correct me in the comments on the internet, but I think culturally that's not something that they have like a huge pushback on. Being referred to as lady boy, because I feel like they look at it as they see themselves more as like being that as opposed to like being women.
Yeah, it is like a larger culture.
Because I mean, there's like trans women who their identity is them being trans, not so much like the woman part is the added on portion to like. Kind of delve deeper into like how they identify themselves, but the trans part is what they identify more with. That makes sense.
Yeah, but like one time, like someone called me that on the internet, and I could tell they were like Southeast Asian. Like, I know they weren't actually trying to be offensive, but then like my friends will see that and like, oh my god, that's so horrible, and it's like, well, like no, that's like. Terms, you know, I've heard a lot from.
I mean, the internet is going to call you a whole ton of things.
Yeah, and I didn't think that this person was trying to hurt my feelings, but you know, to people who aren't used to our terms and stuff, will see that and like get offended on my behalf, you know. So that's why I don't want to post in our traps. And I wish I could post my fucking swimsuit pictures somewhere to get traction on the internet that wasn't like
a trap. Just go on Grindr.
I don't.
Just post
no,
on Grindr.
I'm not trying to.
It's okay. The HSTS will let you.
Wait, so you're saying put my swimsuit picture on Grindr so they'll show up on my.
You're wanting permission into
the HS space.
We're granting you
the HSTS space. We'll give you an honorary position to post your thirst traps on Grindr.
I'm not just trying to post my thirst traps. I'm trying to gain traction. All right.
I got a lot of people like going to my Twitter from.
Have you tried Gmail?
I've never even thought of it. And also, I don't know if I'm trying to pick up people from Grindr. Maybe I should.
You don't have to.
No, not pick up, but I mean pick up them up as followers. Like they'll see this stuff, and I don't know if I want that. Say what?
You just don't like gay men.
I don't like conservative men, and Grindr is a conservative company. I don't know if you know that.
It was like a little dystopian seeing them like having their like little celebration for like starting public trading of the stocks of Grindr. That was like that felt really creepy.
So Stacy, back to you. What's the one thing outside of the community that is holding us back?
The one thing.
The one thing. If you had to pinpoint the most pivotal piece.
I would definitely say probably microplastics. I think that I can't do this.
Not microplastics.
I think the trans community needs to worry more about macroplastics. How to acquire large quantities of silicone.
That would be nice. We should subsidize silicone.
Yeah.
And take out stock.
Yeah, I think that would help a lot if we could get Biden to do something, you know.
About botched silicone injections.
Yeah, I know. I think that would be a good executive order, and that conservatives would be normal about it.
Sun and the Black Ops, have them like scoop up all this like excess sell it back to the American people.
We should go to Iraq and take all their silicone and bring it back here.
Yeah.
And pump all of my sisters. But only the HSTS.
Biden's going to get the girls pumped.
Only the HSTS.
Pump Biden 2026.
24.
I don't know what year it is.
Okay. 26 is a midterm election, so. What?
Very bisexual of you not to know the year.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm here. I'm just...
So, speaking of not knowing why you're here, Nicole, what is the number one thing that is holding back the transsexual community or transgender community internally and externally?
Internally and externally. I think if I was just going to go off the top of my head for things I've recently been thinking about, I do think that like we have been forced, and I think that's a lot of people from my generation actually, so like this doesn't just, I guess, pertain to the trans community. I think that we like live overly online currently, and we get very caught up in very meaningless ideological battles with each other within spaces that are like very confined to like, you know, the internet, that like don't really affect the real world and don't really matter. And we just kind of like end up in like kind of continuous cycles of just like, you know, feeding ourselves content for like whatever our chosen political ideology is, and like don't actually kind of, you know, find empowerment for the trans community as a whole or for ourselves like individually. And I've just noticed a lot of girls will get very sidetracked in like how easy it is to like live the doll lifestyle online and like trying to chase that whole aesthetic.
So you're saying that we need to touch grass more?
No, definitely. The trans girls need to touch grass and like
a fucking tree.
Yeah,
but outside is scary though. Mm-hmm. Also, well, there's COVID out there. There's COVID.
There's less COVID now, and also it's like people have jobs. It's like whatever.
No, I get that because I get that in the sense of a lot of conservatives and people who are anti-trans specifically want us to do that. They want us to sit inside of our houses and disconnect us from public life.
They do want that, and I think that by creating spaces for us that only exist like online and like kind of distracting us with very like ideological battles, it's like we've decided to like take on an existence that is very like very secluded, and I don't want to live a life like that personally. Yeah. Like I feel like when I was younger I did enjoy that, finding like online trans spaces gave me community when I just basically had no one. But it's like I also will see that there's just like more and more people like around my age that just like don't fucking go outside and like don't have friends IRL.
Yeah.
And like that's not an issue, I guess.
But it's like you just said IRL out loud.
IRL. Yeah, no, I'm very locked in. Don't worry. It's like I am a part of the issue. I'm a Zoomer. It's. Are you? It's Zoomer? Bad. I'm 23.
I didn't know that.
We are old people.
Oh, Stacy. Okay. It's really hard to tell ages with trans girls. Yeah, it just is.
With these crow's feet and my sagging breasts.
No. I'm saying that like we all look young all the time. Yeah. So like I thought,
all the baby blood we.
I thought you were older, right? Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool.
But basically, yeah, everyone needs to touch grass, and like getting to pass online isn't the same as getting to like live a normal life. Yeah. Out in the world.
But I feel like if. In some ways, in some instances, it's easier to pass online, and in some instances, it's not. Especially if you're like openly trans on the internet, and then like in the real world, people like on the internet, people are gonna watch this and be like, "Well, I can tell each one of them are trans," but like in reality, in like real life, that's not the same as like. Most of our lived experiences.
And we're like inflicting ourselves with weird like internet brainworms, just like talking about shit that doesn't matter, like AGP and HSTS, like literally stuff like that just like only exists online. And most like average people that like know about trans people probably from like vague conversations with like a taxi driver, like they don't really think about like the deep lore and the fucking meta of trans discourse that only exists like in very insulated online internet. Spaces. Like you just need to fucking cut yourself off from that shit. Like unplug a little bit, girl. Like if we're really worrying about that, like I don't think if you like just logged out of social media, you would even have to deal with any of the like infighting or like fucking discourse shit that people are constantly complaining about. Just like literally remove yourself. Don't take issue with the fact that it's happening. Remove yourself, because none of those people are politically active. Yeah.
I think that some of you are not men.
I think
some of you.
A couple, the HSTS ones. So what about externally?
Externally, I think the largest threat to trans people is obviously conservative lawmakers who are making a racket off of basically, creating the next big gay scare around transness and all of the different, I don't know, the different branches of that whole tree of ideology that have recently been like, I guess, sprouting up. Like obviously people taking away like healthcare from trans people who are like younger. Like people trying to like implement like bathroom bills, which like I honestly like I thought went away like when I was a fucking.
The funniest thing about like bathroom bills is the fact that I remember being like 24, an effeminate long-haired twink running around in women's bathrooms all in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And it's like, y'all have been letting gay men in your restrooms for literally fucking years. But now when you start talking about trans women just using the same bathroom that most of the time you all don't notice, it's comical.
Yeah. I think, and this goes back to the HSTS thing, it's because like they don't see gay men as a threat to women. They're afraid of like straight men being like, I'm a woman and I'm going in the bathrooms. But that's not really happening.
Are they afraid or are they upset?
You mean like, is it happening?
No. I mean, are they upset that we're not HSTS?
I am personally, politically.
Say what?
Do better.
Me? I'm just joking. Oh, okay.
No, I don't know. I think that like I came out like right when like House Bill 2 passed in North Carolina, like in North Carolina, right. And I had to like really deal with a lot of fear, like just going anywhere in public. I avoided using the bathroom. When I did, I would use the men's room. And that was like years into my transition. So it's like, I'm maybe a little callous towards it. Like just conversations about like very superficial aspects of our rights being taken away. But when it does come to like us being endangered, our rights being put into danger when it comes to us being sent to prison for like very like innocuous things like using like restrooms in line with our sex, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to like just legal documentation, it just doesn't make sense to me that those are none of the things that are being talked about like on large platforms, that it always tends to be like the dumb, like frivolous shit. Like,
well, the conservatives push that. They push they push the drag shit. They want to talk about Drag Story Hour.
Yeah, no, they want to talk
as
about
a cover for banning our healthcare. Mm-hmm. So they do it together. It goes at the same time. That's why they're passing they pass the bills together.
Well, yeah, and then like obviously it's all the same people who are involved with like the DNC, and the DNC kind of is playing along with it because they know that as long as they push just like the most trite narratives that are easy to like bat down, they'll always have like an enemy. They'll have a foil. It's like I see like the media that like plays both sides as like two like faces of the same coin. Like they work together to basically like keep people arguing over like the most like superficial aspects.
The media is all conservative owned.
Yeah, no, exactly. That? No, they they try
CNN
to like
was bought by a Nazi recently.
No, I'm aware.
It's crazy.
I'm just saying like the reason that like obviously it seems like liberals are being very superficial and like shallow is because it's like, girl, it's because like only the most like superficial, shallow aspects of like trans identity and rights are what can easily be shot down. And like as long as it looks like we're just like really fighting over petty shit, and it looks like, I don't know, the liberals are like platforming only stupid people, it's because like they don't want to like give us a real voice. They want to make it look like anyone who backs us is an idiot.
I also think one aspect of dealing with trans people in politics is that the most successful measures happen kind of quietly, like with no real fanfare or stuff like that, because it lets conservatives run a news story or something like that. Like when Democrats are going to help us, I think doing it as like no bullshit as possible and give the conservatives the least amount of things they can say about it, because they go crazy. They are insane about, like, they really think that Biden's making a transgender empire. Like, you listen to these people talking on the radio, and he has like not even done. He's done just like a little bit
the email
of pro-trans stuff.
Did you see that like actual interview with him and what's her, like that fucking TikTok girl who's annoying?
Which girl? Oh, Dylan
Mulvaney.
I didn't actually watch it.
Like you were just like watching it, or like you'll just watch it, and like he's like fucking confused the whole time, and it's just like, this man doesn't even know why he's here. Like, you're literally bringing like a trans person to talk on trans rights who's been out for like less than a year. And like it's to someone who like not only doesn't know or care about like trans legislature, just like it's literally just a photo op. And then like it's latched onto by both sides as like,
Biden has been supporting trans. He's been getting shit on for supporting trans rights for a long time. In 2011, I remember it distinctly because my parents listened to Fox News and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, the radio and things, and the Rush Limbaugh. And Biden one time said that in 2011, while he's vice president, that trans rights was the civil rights issue of our time. And you look that up, you'll still see the story. It's like from the Huffington Post or whatever. And they were saying that then, like that Biden was like this transgender person, obsessed with them and stuff like that. And he has put some measures in. It's like, dude, we can't get Congress though. We passed a thing. I think it was like 2 days ago. They passed a research thing on a research grant on trans stuff. Like a White House memo sent out. Like $10 million in funding to collect data on the use of like healthcare with trans people, and they're doing that because.
So has he pledged any like? Basically, has he said that he's going to make sure that like bills stripping trans healthcare are going to be shot down?
Oh, yeah, he has before.
That's cool.
And Merrick Garland, every time something is passed, the DOJ says they're going to sue, but at the end, it's going to get to the federal courts, and the federal courts is ultimately by 6-3 conservative. So. Who knows? You know, they repealed Roe v. Wade because they're crazy. So we don't really actually know if the stuff is going to work. But the research grant that we got, it's because whenever we go to federal courts with this stuff that's about to happen, because once the states start passing these unconstitutional stuff against trans people, it goes to the federal court, and then it's a legal battle. what happens. It's the president's lawyers versus the state's lawyers, and they're getting evidence so that to combat the people who saying that like it doesn't work and that it doesn't reduce our suicide and stuff like that, and that's going to be in the next year or two. It's going to be.
What was the point of the Dylan Mulvaney?
It was a photo op. Like it was to get. It was a public gesture that Biden like associates with trans people and that supports trans
even when
people.
they're bricks.
Oh, come on! Oh,
let's not do too much on
I thought she looked good in that interview. She was
okay.
Nicole, we want to see your socks. And do y'all like them?
Some little toes. I hate that. I like my fluffy socks that I got for Christmas from my mom. And she gave me like a big pack of like warm socks.
That's a very mother gift to get.
And like I'm finally the age where that's like, oh, it's such a great gift. Because like I never buy socks for myself.
Wait till you're like closer to 30. You'll love it even more.
There'll be like hypertensive socks to like keep you from getting spider veins. Joking.
A good old compression sock. We love that.
Yeah.
Transsexuals love compression. I have another topic for us. But before we get that, because I feel like I need to at least have an answer. I feel like I at least need to have some kind of answer for what I feel like the biggest thing holding transsexual back internally and externally is. And I'm going to go with capitalism.
Capitalism is holding us back internally.
Internally and externally. Mm-hmm. The lack of, because the reality of the situation is, regardless of bills, laws, everything in between, you can buy your way out of anything. You can buy your way into passability. You can buy your way into acceptability, aka Caitlyn Jenner. You can buy your way into essentially anything. So I'm very pro trans women making a shit ton of fucking money. And buying Miss Universe. And buying
more trans billionaires.
I actually tweeted and deleted something because someone was complaining about trans women buying, or like a trans women competing in Miss Universe. And I quote, and they were like, they should just get their own pageant, blah, 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 blah. And my quote tweet response, which I deleted, which I shouldn't have, honestly, was to say, why should we get our own? We can just buy yours. And so that's why I think capitalism.
She's asserting sexual dominance.
Huh?
Why did you delete that? It's fine.
I don't know. Because I was like, But I ended up deleting it. But it was very much, why buy our own? And people, the cis women are probably going to hate this. But, oh, wow. So I want us to go around in a circle again.
I was going to say you have the same mentality towards other women's men.
Why do you say that?
No reason.
No, we want you to elaborate. The people on the internet definitely want you to elaborate.
Yeah, on the fact that you steal straight women's men.
I do not. My HSTS steals straight women's men. So I want to know, what has been the worst relationship that you have been in? So a little bit off of the trans topic, but of course it can still be trans related. But what is the worst relationship you have been in, and what did it teach you? Right. And what was also, I want you to make sure though that you pinpoint in this story the part that you played in it, not just the part that the man or the woman played in it.
What? I was good until that clarification, and now I need more.
Yeah, like, so, why is your breakup your fault?
Like, regardless of, because I'm very much of the mentality of you still have a choice, like, regardless of the situation that you're in. And so, even if you are in a horrible relationship, you still played a part in that relationship. So, even though we're pointing out the worst relationship that we're in, still make sure you bring up the part that you played in either getting into that relationship to begin with.
Okay. All right, I got this. All right. Okay. Well, so it was my first real relationship. I was dating a cis girl, and I was closeted at the time, and just whenever, like, I was hiding the fact that I was trans and I told her, I mean, I didn't really know because I didn't know trans people were real. I thought that they were like, I had never met a trans person before, like in my life. And I didn't see them anywhere. Like the first, whenever Instagram started being used and things like that, like I followed Gigi Gorgeous and things like that. And that was like really big for me and things like, and I was like, how do I get these things? But, anyways, with her, it's I feel like it's the same story that everyone tells. Like, you come out as trans, and then they try to seem accepting at first, and then they realize they don't want you to present
actually
female
transition.
ever. They don't ever actually want you to, and they don't want to lose the social capital. They don't want to be with a trans person. Like their families will disown them, so they just shed you. And I mean, I think the problem with the relationship was that it was based on a lie, which was that I was a guy, and she was actually bisexual. So I feel like theoretically it could have worked out, but I think the social problems of being a trans person and dating a trans person played the biggest role in the breakup. But I mean, it was a good breakup. I mean, I'm glad that's over.
What did it teach you?
What did it teach me?
Why was it your fault?
Why was it my fault? Because I'm trans. Yeah, I trans my gender. It taught me to always be true to yourself, even if you think that it might, make someone not like you as much.
Okay.
Facts.
No cap.
Nicole.
I think if I had to choose the worst of the relationships, no, my ex-fiance probably, who like I was dating when I like maybe did the first like couple of clips.
Guy or girl?
It was a girl, and I also like, I mean, she's not like well known. I don't want to be too specific. I don't want people like bugging her, but like we were just like together very like briefly, maybe like a full year, and when I originally moved like to Texas from like South Carolina, I think it was mostly like I had made like just a ton of online friends and like didn't have a lot of people IRL that like I really talked to. So it's like we started like dating online. Then I went out to visit her to like see a concert with her, and like I don't know, I think it was very like emotionally intense very quickly and became codependent like instantly. But ultimately the largest thing was like I finally had access to like a larger like city and like a larger, I guess, like client base that I could like be able to like work from, like when I was, still struggling when I was younger. So I really liked being there with her because it's like I kind of felt like I had like a ride or die. I just had someone like with me, like as I was like figuring shit out. And it's just like it got toxic for like different things. Like I have a history with like addiction, and like I had been maybe clean for like 10 months, like when we got together. And like I just like relapsed really hard because she was like kind of a barfly. And like that was like all probably before I was like 21. So like when I did turn 21, we just ended up going out like so much. Like I ended up like using hella heavy. And then like when I eventually tried to quit, it was just like things started to like just not like line up in like a healthy way. So I don't know, I ended up breaking up with her like maybe a few months after like she tried to like propose to me. Mm-hmm. And like I really think she did that just to like as like a like final attempt to just like,
make
me
it
on
work.
the lockdown, yeah. Cause I don't know. I know she was very serious about the relationship, but by the end I was very just like over a lot of things. Like it was like one of my first like serious relationships too. So it's like I wasn't really used to a lot of stuff. I didn't really know how to handle confrontation. I didn't really know how to handle like obviously like pandemic stuff, which like that started like right after our relationship started. So like just a lot of like emotional turmoil that was like too much for too early into a relationship. So like it just all kind of like fell apart really fast. And like I think what it taught about me was like I definitely need to rely like on myself primarily before I try to focus on like finding others to try and like bring into my world. I think like I can get very like just lonely in my line of work, and it makes me like just try to find people before I find like stability and foundation. And I now know like how important like the latter comes before the like former. So I think that was the main thing. And I will say my faults in the relationship were me kind of just being like, I don't know, like just young and messy. Mm. I can't really.
Codependent relationships just don't ever work.
Codependent, yeah. There's like a lot of reasons it didn't work, but like I think just I was very young, and like I don't think I would still have the same issues in a relationship now. I just also wouldn't like end up in a relationship with the same type of personality for, you know, I think what I thought I wanted at that point. Because it was like with another girl, but I was like looking for, I guess, like someone who's more toppy and dominant. And it's like, I think in her case, it was very immature in a lot of ways. Mm. Like her kind of just like clinging to like certain personality traits that like I think I thought were hot because it's like it gave very like fuckboy, and like I liked that. But then like I think, you know, it doesn't matter like if it's a guy or a girl. Like fuckboys are horrible.
So you were looking
partners.
for like a toxic masculinity in a woman.
I was looking for like a skater boy, like fuckboy vibe. I shouldn't keep saying boy, but you know what I mean. It's like the skater fuckboy thing is like it's hot. It's still hot to me. I just know now. I'm cannot get into a relationship with that. So what about you? What is your worst relationship? Who was this?
I'm going to give the residential HSTS answer about how I was like in love with a DL man. So there was this guy that I had started seeing, and we had started talking on Tinder or Bumble. I can't remember which one it was. And he didn't live in Atlanta. He lives in a different state. He ended up coming up here. We went out, which I was also very much like on my fuck girl vibes at the time when I first met him, because the night that I met him, I actually met a different fuck boy and gave him my number at the bar while I was out with fuck boy number one. Mm-hmm. And both of them were fuck boys. Can you imagine that?
In Atlanta?
Crazy.
Chances, yeah.
But fuckboy number one, who did not live here, we see each other randomly at the bar, and I was out with a guy friend at the time, and he was like, do you want to go up and see him? Because I was supposed to see him while he was in town, and we just happened to see each other at the bar. But I knew he was with a group of his guy friends there. So I wasn't going to approach the situation because I was like, I don't know how he feels about being seen with a trans woman in public. And so he just kind of looked at me and then just like kept walking. So I was like, well, there's your sign, bitch. There's your fucking sign. Yeah. But he ended up coming back later. We hung out that night. And of course, what did I do but sleep with him? Very HSTS of me. And we ended up, there was always an understanding inside of the relationship that we had that it was just like, we never put a title on it. Like we weren't dating or in a relationship. I was very much aware he was dating other people at the time. He was very aware that I was like, would casually see other people at the same time too. But he started making it a point to, he would call me every single day, as opposed to us having like a traditional friends with benefits or situationship. He would still call me every day and talk to me for like an hour or 2 hours. So we're still building like an emotional relationship connection. Like he was still getting some kind of emotional buy-in out of it, because otherwise, why the fuck are you calling anybody and talking to them for an hour or 2 hours a day? But that ended up going into a moment where I had driven to where he lived, and we were going to be spending the weekend together. And his brother, I'm pretty sure it was his brother, ended up, because I was actually dropping my car off at where he lived at, and his brother ends up driving past us. And now, granted, the distance to which his brother was at, the only thing his brother was going to see was a big booty white bitch. But he looks at me and he was like, get behind the car. Like he's getting me to hide because he doesn't want his brother to see me. And I know, Stacy, you're very much given like my mentality in that moment. And so I dropped my car off. We that moment passed. He is very clear that I'm pissed at him. And I was actually, the thing was, I was dropping my car off at his place, and he was taking me directly to the airport to fly out to somewhere because I was going on vacation. And then when I came back, I was going to actually see him. So I leave to go on vacation, very pissed at him. Come back. I ended up seeing him maybe for like 2 hours after that. And then I think I saw him one other time when he came to Atlanta after that, and he thought that we were going to fuck, and he came to my house drunk, and I was like, we're definitely not having sex. But the biggest thing that relationship taught me, and not that it was an actual relationship, because it was far from that clearly, but the biggest thing that taught me was, besides humbling the shit out of me, with just teaching me to not invest my time in stuff that I know is not going anywhere, and to be a lot more stingy with giving of my personal energy to people who do not deserve it. And he was definitely one of those people. I got that. But I was doing the very stereotypical HSTS thing, or just like transsexual thing in general. Well, no, definitely HSTS, of having a very masculine man affirm my femininity, which is literally what he did, because he was like 6'5", very attractive, had played sports. So I was definitely filling myself with that man.
No, I got it.
In a lot of different ways. But it was not healthy for me. So especially, like this is a very...
treat you like a secret, it's not.
This is like a very in your early transition thing that you do. Like bitches who have transitioned for a while, this is not some shit that you do. And so, but that's what that taught me. It taught me a very good lesson.
Like don't mess
also,
with guys who like...
ain't shit. Charge them all.
Charge them all.
That's AGP privilege right there, honestly. No,
that's literally HSTS. Please don't try to copyright our lingo. Thank you so much.
I had guys that would, swoop in on me like in private, and then act like they don't know me in public, My first time I went out, and this guy, he was kind of cute, and he got my number quickly, and then got me like behind the bar pretty fast, and then he left me.
I thought you were our AGP. Where's the story
I'm
going
in
from?
Both communities, okay, bisexual. All right. Anyways, and then like he left, and then he texted me later, like 2 hours later, wanting me to come to his house, and he was like, "Sorry, I left you out there.
Damn, he was like, I was really hitting on you with boy titties. And I was like, first off, I had to be cop. But it was like the fact he made that joke. But also it was like, we were to a level at which that joke was funny to me. If you bitches on the fucking internet try that shit, it's not. Because I have girl titties now.
Women titties.
Women titties. Do y'all have any closing statements for this I feel like it's going to be chaotic episode of T-Rated?
I'll be interested to see what the edit is like. Okay. Mm-hmm. What do I have to say?
Closing arguments.
Release the
closing arguments.
Cut.
In conclusion, I think that Americans should all take estrogen, and everyone, we should subsidize eyebrows so that the AGPs can have affordable eyebrows in this great country.
Do they not have eyebrows now?
Good eyebrows done. Like,
give us a thumbs up if you don't have eyebrows because you're a Republican. Closing arguments.
Yeah, go outside. Also, I'm not a politician. I do sex for money. No, I don't know what I'm saying. So it's like, don't look to me to be like giving an intelligent, like unique perspective. I'm just like, yeah, that seems wrong because I
appreciate your perspective and stuff though.
Thank you. You're welcome. I've give that street logic. I've been I've been living that life.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate both of you for being on T-Rated.
Thank you so much.
This
Absolutely.
I love this. Is a lovely place. I love the brick.
Thank you.
Good touch.
I put it up myself before I started estrogen. I will link both of their social medias down below and everything else. Make sure you check them out. And I will see you in the next episode of T-Rated.